back! Oh, my back! So that's it, I am back. Now you might be thinking, I haven't been anywhere, which is a great observation I have to say. I want to talk about my trophy hunting experiences as of late. I don't want to make a video today talking about it properly in depth about my loss of interest in trophy hunting over the past 6 to 8 months and how it's kind of resurged back to where I am now and why I'm happy to talk about it, and I want to share this with you because I think this is something that a lot of people experience, not just in gaming, not just in trophy hunting, and so many different experiences and things they have in their lives is lack of interest or loss of interest in something which naturally comes back. And I want to give you a timeline of how this happened. So back in May of 21, I was pretty hard in those easy platinums. I was going for them pretty hard. I got my 450th platinum and I was like, that's enough. You know, I stepped away. I'd been playing a lot of these garbage games and it didn't really give much value to me anymore. I do appreciate that part of my past because without those games, there'd be no Plat Bro, right? There'd be no Platinum Bro, this YouTube channel wouldn't exist. That's what kickstarted my love of collecting, being a completionist and trophy hunting, so I don't regret that part of my life. But I said enough was enough. It wasn't just about the easy Platinums and about the devaluation of the Platinum Trophy. It was about the games themselves and games that were coming out of incredibly low quality, targeted for a very specific niche of people, trophy hunters, just to sell them a quick game so they could get a quick Platinum. I didn't agree with that. I still don't agree with that now. I want my money to go towards games that have had their heart and souls of the developers poured into, and they are good games and they aren't made for a platinum. And I think someone said once, if you're buying a game just to get a platinum trophy, then have you bought it for the right reason? It's fair. I think it was Vaultboy Steve. I might give him a shout out for that, but it might not have been him. I think it was him though. So in May, yeah, I said enough was enough, and you know, it's been 18 months and I'm past that part of my life and I'm going strong. So next it came to November of 21, I played some incredible games that month. I played Hades and I played Guardians of the Galaxy, both fantastic games, great platinum trophies. Hades is quite challenging, it's not too hard, but you have to work for it. It's an isometric over the top roguelike game. Guardians of the Galaxy is a story driven linear game. Bit different, not too challenging, but they're great experiences and everyone should play them. I highly recommend them. And then the downfall began. So I said 6 to 8 months, realistically it was about 9 to 10. When I returned to do the Ghost of Tsushima DLC, it really hit me there. I had to go and do the Iki Island DLC, which was okay, but it was the multiplayer. I think the multiplayer that was added to Ghost of Tsushima, it's excellent that it was free when it came out. It was so good of Sucker Punch to make. The Platinum Trophy was excessive. The trophy list, however, was excessive. It ended up taking about 60 hours just to do all the DLC trophies, which for me was too much of the same stuff, and I really lost a lot of interest in Ghost of Tsushima. It soured my experience towards the end. Now I still think it's a fantastic game. It is in my top 10 PlayStation 4 games of all time. But the trophy list is not. The game's amazing, it's a masterpiece. The trophy list is excessively grindy like most open world games. It doesn't add anything really to your experience, and the DLC is excellent, but again it's pretty long and I was really losing my interest in it, and I finished it after 2 months, 160-70 hours, and it was done, and I was already feeling a bit deflated at that point. Then in February I went for my hardest platinum of all time, Alien Elite Fireteam, with 2 of my friends, with my brother and my friend Connor, and it was insanely difficult. It was so rewarding. It was a 9 out of 10, it took about 100 hours to do. You have to master every single level on all 4 of the difficulties and they get progressively harder and harder every time. If you haven't played it, I really recommend it. You do need people to play with. It's, I would say, close to impossible by yourself because the AI are just dirty. However, it's a great platinum and I was on a high when I finished this game. But then the downfall started to creep up again, and next was Hotline Miami, a game I had referred to me by a close friend, Vaultboy Steve. And now I just don't have any respect for him and would never listen to any recommendations he ever gives me. I finished it on the Platinum Trophy, but it was difficult and it was just frustrating. And it made me realise at times I was contemplating, why am I doing this? I'm not enjoying the game. But I was so close to the Platinum because the game isn't long. It's only about 20 hours, 25 to get the Platinum, maybe 15 if you're good. I ain't. So I then finished it and I was feeling like I am sick of these sort of grinds. I am sick of playing difficult games that I'm not enjoying just to get the Platinum Trophy, and I could tell within myself that my interest in trophy hunting was definitely declining, and I was becoming more and more specific with the games that I actually wanted to play. And I think that is something that happens to people who are a little bit older, you know, 25 to 30, 25 to 35, who don't have as much time, and then they have to dedicate, you know, 10, 15 hours a week to gaming. And then you're thinking, do I want to play a 70-hour game over the next 5 weeks, or do I want to play some shorter ones which are, it doesn't have to be easy, just less demanding. I think this brings the question of actual, what should a Platinum Trophy require after the game's finished? I think this is a really good question, something that I have been thinking about quite a lot, and I've decided that I think a Platinum Trophy should require the same amount of time that it takes to beat the game. So for example, if a game is 10 hours long to finish the main story, I think a good level of trophy hunting, a good level of time should be an extra 10 hours. So if a game takes 10 hours to finish, the platinum should be another 10 hours, because if you're doing more than that, what is the game requiring you to do? What is it expecting you to do above and beyond the actual story? And the best example of this is Scott Pilgrim, the game that really broke me. I've made a few videos on this. Glitches galore, all sorts. Yeah, I get that, but the game itself is 2 hours long. You can do an entire playthrough in 2 hours. In fact, there's a speedrun trophy for doing it in 90 minutes, which is easy enough to do. This game requires 7 playthroughs, one of which is a speedrun. The game is incredibly glitchy, which means that you end up actually running it about 10 to 11 times to get the actual platinum, which means that the platinum took me around 16 to 18 hours to do for a 2-hour game, and then that, to me, seems excessive. You are replaying the game excessively. You're not gaining anything new or anything more from doing these things over and over again, and it just begs the question, what was the intention of this trophy list? Is it impressive that you've played the game 6 times through, all the way through, especially if it's a game that isn't accomplished for its difficulty? Games are all different, trophy lists are all different, but I often think that that is a good staple. The amount of time to finish the game should be the same amount of time to get the platinum. And I think Guardians of the Galaxy is a good example of this. The game itself is about 12 to 13 hours long, and then by the time you finish the game, all you've really got to do is, if you've missed the collectibles, you've got to do one more playthrough to get the collectibles, to get the platinum. If you've done the collectibles during it, all you have to do is go back through, probably spend 6 or 7 hours making a few different decisions, making sure you haven't missed things, and you can be done in about 20 hours, 18 hours, which to me is a really good balance. It doesn't overstay its welcome, it doesn't become tiresome, which I think a lot of these games, a lot of these trophy lists really do become tiresome and just overstay their welcome, and it sours your experience of a game. We've all played a game as a trophy hunter who, when we finished the main game, we thought, this is exceptional, this is a great game, but then by the time you finish the platinum, your opinion of the game is soured. You're not necessarily saying it's a horrible game, but you're definitely acknowledging that they aren't as high as when you finish the game for the very first time. And I think Ghost of Tsushima for me is a perfect example of that. I still hold it in really high regards of it being an absolute masterpiece. By the time I finished all the collectibles to get the platinum trophy, I was still a little bit like, I didn't need to do this. I didn't need to spend 15 hours looking for foxes, looking for collectibles, looking for outfits. It just felt too much. But then when I did the online, everything else, I did honestly leave it going, I'm never playing Ghost of Tsushima ever again. By the time I finished Scott Pilgrim, I was sick of gaming. I think it just takes a couple of bad experiences on the trot, or within quick succession, to really sour your experience of anything. So I think experiencing the grind of Ghost of Tsushima, a couple months later being frustrated with Hotline Miami, and a couple months later just playing so much of Scott Pilgrim unnecessarily for this platinum, which just didn't feel warranted, or I didn't feel accomplished when I did it. I just felt relieved. These 3 games really made me want to take a step back, which is what I did. And then in August, I said enough's enough. I started playing FIFA, just for the fun of it. I love football. Some of you may not know. And I earned the platinum in that, and it was a lot more enjoyable. And then it takes us to pretty much September to now, where I really started to fall back in love with trophy hunting. Last of Us Part 1 remake. Masterpiece of a game. It's still in my top 3 games of all time. I think it's the best story game that's ever been on any console I've ever experienced. And going for that platinum, again, the platinum is only, if you do it all from the get-go, you can do it in probably 15 hours. I did it in a bit of replay here and there. It took me about 20-25, and I left it thinking, this is how you should feel from trophy hunting. You should feel accomplished and not like the game overstayed its welcome. Then it brought me on to Call of Duty Modern Warfare Remastered, the 2006 or 7 game that was remastered, COD 4. A game I played as a kid excessively. It was those days where you were a kid, you got back from school, you played Call of Duty, you played COD 4 for 2 hours, 3 hours, 5, 6 hours every night. Went back in, did it on Veteran, one hell of a challenge. I did the Mile High Club. It took me over 500 attempts to beat. You can, of course, watch my full video on this if you like. And it was very, very rewarding. I was so happy and I felt so accomplished when I earned this platinum. And that, when it really dawned on me, a few bad games can sour your experience of anything, of trophy hunting. A few bad experiences in general can sour your experience, but there just takes a few good ones to bring them back. And that's where I'm at now. I'm back wanting to play games, wanting to earn platinum. I think it's an important takeaway here is that I think I've often said that you should be a bit skeptical, you should think a bit about the games you want to play. Should you really be doing excessive grind games that require large amounts of playthroughs? If it's something you can't stomach, know your limits is what I'm saying here, because I know now I'm not playing a game that's 60 hours long. If you can beat the game in 15 hours, I'm not doing that. Maybe if it's a masterpiece of a game and I know I'm going to love it going in, but then again that revolves. But again, that includes doing a lot of research beforehand, and I think preparing yourself for these difficult games, these longer games before you go in, knowing what you've got to do to accomplish it really helps you set good goals, allows for you to understand what is going to push you past your limit, because it's not always about difficulty. For me, it's actually about the time required to beat these games, not actually the difficulty, because I don't mind a 20-hour game that's difficult. I'd rather do that than a 70-hour grind where once I finish the game after 25 hours, I've then got to do 35 hours, 45 hours playing the game again, doing collectibles, doing side quests. To me, that is just not what I'm about. I just want to share my experiences with you about Burnout and about how it can be overcame. Just takes a little bit of a break, a bit of refocusing, a bit more research on what you do want out of your games and what you don't want and what you don't like and what's going to put you off. Let me know down below if you've ever experienced a fallout of love with trophy hunting. I'm sure myself, anybody watching this would love to know. And that's it. You take it easy.